You're not failing at fasting because you're lazy, inconsistent, or eating the wrong foods. You're failing because of one specific thing you do every single day that your body interprets as a signal to hold on to fat instead of burning it. And it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like the right move. In some cases, it feels like discipline. That's exactly why it keeps working against you in silence. Most people who hit a wall with fasting spend months adjusting their eating window, cutting more calories, pushing through more hunger, never suspecting that none of that touches the actual problem. Once you see what it is, you won't need willpower to fix it. You'll just need to stop doing one thing you didn't know was costing you everything. Before we get into this, always check with your doctor before making significant changes to your fasting routine or diet, especially if you have any underlying health conditions. What I share here is educational, based on research and real experience, not personalized medical advice. Now let's go. Let me ask you something nobody in the fasting space ever asks. Not, how long are you fasting? Not, what are you eating? Not, are you consistent? Here's the question. What signal is your body receiving right before your fast begins? Because your body doesn't experience your fast the way you experience it. You experience it as a decision, a window, a timer, a commitment. Your body experiences it as a signal. And signals don't care about your intentions. They only respond to what they receive. And right now, the signal being sent every single night is the exact opposite of what most people think they're sending. You think you're telling your body, burn fat. Your body is hearing something completely different. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. The mistake isn't obscure. It's something you do every day, probably without a second thought, and it looks exactly like normal behavior. Or even good behavior. Stay with me. Because once you see this, you'll immediately know whether you've been making it. And before I get to the fix, I'm going to show you one more layer at the end that most guys never connect. Something that lives completely outside of food. If you've already cleaned up the diet and still can't move the belly, that last piece is probably why. Don't skip ahead. When you enter a fasted state, your body has one decision to make: burn fat, or protect fat and find something else to burn instead. That decision isn't based on how long you've been fasting. It's based on the hormonal environment your body inherited from the meal before the fast started. Think of it like a building that switches to emergency generator power at night. The generator only kicks in fully when the main power is genuinely off, not just turned down, actually off. If there's any residual current still running, the generator stays in standby. Never fully takes over. Your fat-burning state works the same way. The main power is insulin. While insulin is running, even at low levels, your body stays in standby mode. The deep fat burning never starts. And here's the part that changes everything. Insulin doesn't shut off the moment you stop eating. Depending on what and how much you ate before the fast, that curve can stay elevated for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours after your last bite. You stop eating at 8 p.m. thinking the fast is running. You wake up at 7 a.m. feeling like you ran a solid 11-hour window. But biologically, your body may have spent the first 3 to 4 hours still processing dinner. Your real fast was 7 hours. You called it 11. I spent 6 months doing exactly this. Tracking my window obsessively, feeling the hunger, waking up expecting results, and nothing moved. Turns out I'd been showing up to a race I was starting 3 hours late every single time. So what's running that insulin curve? That's the mistake, and it's not what you think. Ask most people what spiked their insulin last night, and they'll point at the obvious things: the dessert, the late snack, the extra portion. But what if you didn't do any of that? What if you ate clean, stopped at a reasonable hour, nothing you'd look back and question, and the insulin curve still ran long? That's the situation for a huge number of guys who fast consistently and can't figure out why results aren't moving. They've already cut the obvious stuff, and they're still sending the wrong signal every night. The mistake is eating volume, not caloric excess, volume. Specifically, consistently finishing meals past the point your body was actually done. When you eat past the point your body needed, not a binge, just finishing what's in front of you when your body was already done, your body triggers a disproportionate insulin response, larger than the food required. That overshoot extends the insulin curve deep into your fasting window. Not by minutes, by hours. Ever wonder why you wake up after a perfect fast and still feel heavy, foggy, not quite clean? That's not your imagination. That's the generator that never fully kicked on. But here's the layer most people never connect. And this one surprised me when I first understood it. Consistent mild overfeeding quietly elevates your baseline cortisol overnight. An elevated cortisol overnight has one very specific job: protect your most stressed fat depot, which is visceral belly fat, the deep, stubborn kind right below the navel that refuses to move no matter how hard you fast. You're eating a normal dinner, finishing your plate like a responsible adult, and triggering a hormonal chain that locks down the exact fat you're trying to burn before your fast even starts. That's the mistake. It doesn't feel like one, and it's been running every single night. Here's where most guys go wrong when results stall. They extend the window, push to 18 hours, white-knuckle through more hunger because more fasting equals more fat burning, and results don't improve. Sometimes they get worse. Sound familiar? If the problem is the signal before the fast, insulin running long, cortisol elevated overnight, then more fasting hours don't fix the signal. They just add more hours of suboptimal conditions. Worse, aggressive fasting increases cortisol further. More protection on visceral fat. More muscle burn for fuel instead of the fat you're targeting. I had a guy, mid-30s, fasting 18 hours every day for 5 months. Waist completely stuck. We didn't touch his window. We changed one meal. 6 weeks later, nearly 3 inches off his waist. Same discipline, different signal. Gorilla Mind isn't about doing the hardest version of everything. You can fast 20 hours on the wrong starting conditions and never unlock the fat. Or you can run a clean 14 hours from the right starting point and move more fat in a week than you did in the last 2 months. The window is not the variable. One change, not a protocol overhaul, not a new eating window. Stop finishing the plate. Eat until you're satisfied, not until the food is gone. That distinction, practiced consistently at your last meal before the fast, changes the hormonal signal your body carries into the overnight window. Smaller insulin overshoot, lower baseline cortisol. Fat burning turns on earlier and runs longer. The Japanese have a phrase for this, hara hachi bu, eat to 80% full, not a fasting protocol, a relationship with food. But the metabolic effect on the overnight fast is more powerful than most people's entire fasting strategy. Eat slowly enough that your body can register when it's satisfied. That signal takes 15 to 20 minutes to travel from gut to brain. Put the fork down before you're obviously full. When you feel like you could eat more but don't actually need to, that's the target. This isn't about eating less. It's about stopping at a different point. Sufficient and done tells your biology. Resources are adequate. Run recovery mode tonight. Consumed everything available tells it. Maximize storage and protect reserves. Same dinner. 2 completely different nights inside your fast. You know what I'm talking about, right? 2 more adjustments. Both take less than 5 minutes. Anchor the last meal in protein and healthy fat. Eggs, meat, fish instead of rice and pasta. Your body enters the fast with lower glycogen and a shorter insulin curve. Not a different diet, a different last meal. And after eating, move. 10 minutes. A walk. Light movement clears post-meal glucose faster, helps insulin decline sooner, starts the cortisol drop you need for a clean overnight window. Classic Kong move, not because it's impressive, but because it works every single night. Fix the ending of the meal. Anchor it in protein. Add 10 minutes of movement. The fast does the rest. Now, I promised you one more layer. This one steps on some toes. It has nothing to do with food, and it feels like the opposite of a mistake. Most guys who clean up the last meal and get everything dialed in still have this one thing running interference. They never connect it because it lives in a completely different mental category. Supplements taken during the fasting window. 0 calories, so it doesn't feel like breaking the fast. But your cells don't count calories, they read signals. And some of what's in a standard supplement stack is sending the exact signal that pauses fat burning. BCAAs during the fast. Your body reads amino acids exactly like protein, insulin ticks up, fat burning state pauses. You're supplementing your way out of the window you stayed hungry 14 hours to reach. I've seen guys fix everything about their meal, add the evening walk, clean up the plate, and still wonder why the clarity never shows up. 9 times out of 10, this was it. The rule is simple. If it has amino acids or growth signaling compounds, it belongs in your eating window. Not your fasting window. Plain water, black coffee, plain sparkling water, that's it. Your biology is listening even when you're not paying attention. The signal fix, the 3 meal adjustments, and exactly which supplements are killing your fasting window, it's all laid out step by step in the pinned comment. One place ready to apply tonight. No need to rewatch or take notes. Check it now. And if this just changed the way you think about what's actually happening during your fast, subscribe. The guys who stay here stop guessing and start running the process the right way. The first thing you'll notice is the morning quality. A cleaner waking. Hunger present but calm, not aggressive. Mental clarity in the first hour instead of after the second coffee. You'll feel the difference before you can measure it. The second shift is the late night pull. That craving after dinner when your body keeps asking for more, That's elevated cortisol looking for quick fuel. When cortisol comes down properly overnight, that pull loses its grip. Not because of discipline, because the biology changed. The third shift is the waist, and this one is slow. 3 to 4 weeks of consistent execution. But once the overnight environment is consistently right, insulin clearing on time, cortisol quiet, fat burning running the full window, the deep belly starts moving in a way it wasn't before. Not from harder fasting, from a different signal sent at dinner. Most fasting content is obsessed with the window. Open it here, close it there, push it longer when results stall. But the window is just a container. What you put in it and how you close it determines everything that happens while it's sealed. You've been managing the container. Nobody told you to manage the signal. Change the signal. The fast becomes a completely different tool. Gorilla mind. Know the game you're playing. Go focus on the carcass.